Thank you so much for joining me for the 10th episode of my COVID recovery series, where I speak with people who have recovered from the coronavirus and share with us their inspiring stories, but also movers and shakers and people from all around the world who are fighting the good fight against the coronavirus. Now, to continue our celebration from Mother's Day, which was yesterday, today I am really excited to be speaking with an educator, a teacher, but most importantly, a mother. Now, Joy Marchese, my guest for this evening, is an author, a teacher, and a mother, like I said, and is the founder of Positive Discipline UK, co-founder of iGrowCo, which we will be talking about. They are these incredible affirmation cards for children. I can't wait to have Joy tell us more about that. Now, for over 20 years, Joy has been working with thousands of teachers, parents, and children from all over the world on positive discipline, and she'll be telling us about that and ways that parents at home right now can benefit from that method in working with their children. More so, Joy is also the author of Positive Discipline for Today's Busy and Overwhelmed Parents: How to Balance Work, Parenting, and Self for Lasting Well-Being. It is my pleasure to welcome Joy Marchese to the program from London. Let's see if she's here. Joy, are you there with us? There we go. There, Joy. Hi, Joy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to see you.
Absolutely. Likewise. It's such a treat to have you, especially after Mother's Day. I'm sure many people virtually celebrated their mothers, and you yourself are a super mom, and I want to talk about so many things with you because I know mothers who are watching at home are going through a lot, whether it be emotionally or just, all the challenge of working with kids. But first, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm surviving.
Good.
I have great days and challenging days, just like everyone else, I think.
Right. And for the viewers who may not know, Joy, you have a daughter, and how old is she?
She is 2 years, 8 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I mentioned this earlier, but Joy's joining us from London, a city that was hit worst in Europe, actually, after Italy,
Yeah.
and is now slowly seeing the light from the other side, and is very, very slowly looking like it's emerging. So really, things were very challenging in London. So let's dig into the conversation. One of the reasons that I was really keen in, speaking with you was for you to tell us more about the positive, discipline, what that is, and how you're incorporating that right now during the pandemic with your little girl.
So I'm really blessed that I've been in the field of education for over 20 years. And so I have been implementing the philosophy of positive discipline for quite some time with children. So even before I became a parent. So I feel very lucky that when I became a parent, I was equipped with all of these tools that would help me. Who knew how much it would help me really now? So recently I actually resigned from my teaching post at the American School in London after 10 years in December to just pursue really being able to spread the philosophy of positive discipline and to really grow our iGrowCo, which we'll talk about, and be able to share that more. So it was very interesting because I made that decision. It was not an easy decision. And what ended up happening was come February, I went from having a thriving business to just everything stopping. So all of my workshops and whatnot.
With the coronavirus.
Yes. So I basically overnight became a stay-at-home mom. And it was a big shift because I would traveled a lot for work. So I had this, you know, juggling. And the beauty of it is I have, and I would not trade it in for anything in the world, is all of the precious time that I have with my daughter. And on top of that, it's challenging day in and day out, you know, being
right,
just dealing with the daily routine. On top of it, dealing with both my husband and I trying to work from home with no child's care, and, you know, being confined, and trying to keep my daughter occupied. So there's a lot that I think a lot of parents are facing now. I think what has helped me the most is really the self-regulation tools and the communication tools that Positive Discipline, you know, shares.
Right.
So really knowing that, that it's up to me to control my behavior and not looking to control my daughter's behavior, or my husband's for that matter.
Exactly. And that's key. And I want to delve into that. But let's take a step back. How do you, and I know, like I said in my introduction, you know, for everyone who's watching, Joy has been, you know, in this field for 20 years, and she travels the world, in the United States, Europe, the Middle East, and is a trainer, is a lead trainer for Positive Discipline. Joy, how do you explain Positive Discipline in short? I mean, I know it's, you know, a prolonged discussion, but how do you define it for parents and people who may have never heard of this? What is Positive Discipline?
So it's really important to understand that it's not a technique that we're using with kids or on kids. It's really a philosophy. It's a way of interacting with all human beings, not just children, but adults as well. So Positive Discipline is all based on Adlerian psychology. And Alfred Adler was around, we're talking over a century ago. So this is not new stuff. This is like really deeply rooted in the whole positive psychology, humanistic psychology. And it's all about human relationships. It's all based on mutual respect. And Adler used to say that every human being, including children, deserve to be treated with basic human dignity and respect. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what it's based on, which I think is really important.
That's incredible, because you mentioned respect. I think when you use the word, or when, you know, people use the word discipline, it has a harsh connotation. Now, you're talking about respect, and really it defies that harsh, you know, element that the word might have. How can parents get more knowledge or access to this discipline that you're talking about right now? Because I bet it's frustrating. And, you know, you do the trainings worldwide, you do the online classes, but of course things are a little bit more confined right now. How can parents learn more about this as they're going through the pandemic right now?
So one thing I do want to mention, because a lot of people bring up the name Positive Discipline. So they think, first of all, when they hear positive, they think, oh, this is so American. And I just want to reassure people, this is not a, you know, it's not a permissive program. It's based on kindness, but the discipline piece that does worry people when they hear discipline, they think they're going to learn how to positively discipline their children. But if you go back to the Latin roots of the word discipline, which is disciplinare, right? It really means disciple. It means to teach. So what we're looking to do is to teach children those important life skills that we need. And now more than ever is the best time. We have such a huge opportunity to teach those characteristics and life skills that we want, like resiliency and creativity and innovation and responsibility. It's all, you know, we can do that now. So if parents, I wanted, when this whole thing first happened, I had a lot of parents reaching out to me, help, I don't know what to do. How do I homeschool? How do I juggle everything?
Right.
And what I started doing, just as a kind of quick response, is I started doing this, my parenting SOS. I had never done,
which I shared.
Right? I had never done a Facebook Live before, ever. And I said, I'm just going to go on and share some tools that I'm using that are helping me. So people can go on the Positive Discipline UK website, and they can just, on the Facebook page, and they can just look at those videos. They're about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And every episode kind of gives specific tools. And if they don't have Facebook, they can go onto YouTube and go on the Positive Discipline YouTube channel. So that's one way that they can do it. And another thing that we provide is we're doing tons of online parent classes, you know, through Zoom. We do parent coaching. So there's a lot of support out there if people want to reach out through the website.
Let's talk about that for a second. Parents and mothers may at times of crisis in ways feel intimidated, Joy. They may not come and ask for help. I mean, I have friends who are, you know, young mothers, and I know that they're frustrated, but I also know that they don't necessarily ask for help. What do you tell to those moms?
So I think what we really look for is, I mean, we talk about it in the book. We talk about there is no such thing as any perfect parents. Like when people come to my courses, I'm like, if you're here to be a perfect parent, it doesn't exist. And there's also no perfect child. So that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for progress and not perfection. And we know the good thing about positive discipline is we really believe it's part of the philosophy that mistakes are opportunities. So we actually celebrate mistakes. And I really look at, when I talk to parents, you know, when I think about asking for help, I don't see that as a sign of weakness. I see it as the exact opposite. Asking for help is a huge sign of strength. Knowing when to ask for help and being able to do it, I see really as a strength. And so, you know, I always share my imperfections and the challenges that I face and the mistakes that I make, because I think it's really about the courage to be imperfect.
Right. No, that's so important. And actually that takes me to my next point, which is based on a conversation we had earlier. Again, a lot of parents, rightfully in ways, are frustrated right now, and they see this whole thing as a challenge, but you said it's an opportunity. Why is this time an opportunity in fostering your child? Why is it an opportunity to really empower your child? What are those elements that you're instilling in your little girl's mind that you can share with parents out there to really reverse this frustration into opportunity?
Yeah. So I think it's important to note, first of all, you know, I am an optimist, so that's kind of my nature. And on top of that, I made a choice very early on in my life, not just in my parenting, but in my life, that in order for me to manage the busyness of life and the stress of life, that I would try as much as possible to focus my energy on the things that I can control. And try to let go and not focus on the things I can't control. I cannot control this pandemic, right? I cannot control the weather, but I can control how much news that I'm taking in. I can control the food that I'm putting in my body, right? So I think one thing for people to try to realize is that we do have a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, like we have to stay home, right? We don't have that choice. We're following the rules. But how can we spend our day? We have choice about that, right? So I choose to spend it in ways that are as productive as possible with my daughter. And I'm choosing to let go of the fact that maybe my work has to come second right now. And my mother, being a mother, has to come first, and being with my family. You know, I've worked with a lot of people in the past that their biggest thing is, how do I juggle everything? Well, right now, you know, we're being forced to slow down for the first time, at least in my lifetime, that I can really think. We are really being forced to slow down. And it doesn't feel like that. I feel actually busier than ever. For some, it's a really weird, right? It's a weird paradigm, I think, that a lot of us are experiencing. However, we're not running around and doing different activities, you know, and having all these appointments. You know, we're busy because we're trying to juggle work and being home. But I think it's important to recognize that we have this time as a family, and that we have to use that time to connect on a deeper level, you know? And so we're having fun. Now, granted, my daughter's a toddler. I'm not worrying about academics and homeschooling. However, as an educator, I want to tell parents out there to not try to replace their child's classroom teacher. You are your child's first teacher as their parents, and it's your job to teach them the life skills, the characteristics, the values, right? Respect, responsibility, independence, confidence, cooperation,
Kindness.
empathy, right? All of those important life skills. That's what we can be working on right now. I promise you, and responsibility is part of the academics. So there is, yes, they should be doing academics, but try not to stress about it in the sense that don't worry about them falling behind. They will catch up. They will catch up. And the research is really clear that actually when we get the characteristics and the life skills, when we get the social emotional intelligence right, when we can really develop that in a child, the academics will follow. It's so clear. So even now, focus your time on the social emotional development of the child rather than worrying as much and stressing about the academics.
No, that's so important. Absolutely. And again, it takes me to my next point. It's something that I really want to talk to you about, which is mental health. As you know, I'm a strong advocate of mental health. Our organization, Art of Hope, focuses on trauma relief and psychosocial support for refugees. But right now we're at a moment where we're all affected somehow emotionally as we go through this pandemic. And talk to us about that. Children are going to feel a lot of different emotions, and their mental health is at risk. So how can parents mitigate that risk, and instead of having it, go the wrong direction, actually foster it? How can parents, back to your initial point about, instilling those fundamental values, help their child's mental health to thrive?
Yeah. So I think it's perfect timing. I know we were thinking of Mother's Day when you had this episode, but actually next week is Mental Health Awareness Week. It's a huge week for it's so incredibly important. And so I think it's probably mental health is probably one of my biggest worries for people during this pandemic, more than the physical health. And I know that people are getting ill and dying, but I worry more about the long-term implications of the trauma that many of the people will experience this, like during this. So it's really important. First of all, I'm going to do a very quick activity with everyone. And Tara, I want you to follow. I don't think I've done this with you.
Yes, I will.
So you're going to follow along with me. And anyone watching, I need you to actually look at the screen during this time. So if you're listening, if you can take a moment to look at the screen, I just want everyone to take a deep breath. Just ground yourself for a second. And that's all it takes to just come back into the moment. And I want you to make an okay sign with your hands like this. So just make a circle with your thumb and your pointer finger. And I want you to place the circle on your chin. Place the circle on your chin. Okay. So what did you notice? What did you do?
Well, I noticed that I followed Gio, and then I thought, oops, does she mean cheek? Should I correct her? Maybe no, but she meant chin. So that was my thought. So
the reason I did that is because I cannot stress enough to parents that their greatest tool as a parent is modeling the behavior that they want their children, right, to display. So when it comes to any behavior, but especially self-care and mental health, what we can do for our children is we can model it for them as best as we can. So this activity shows us that, and it's it's how the brain learns, right? We actually, we watch more than we listen. So we learn through watching others rather than listening to them. So you didn't hear me wrong. I said put it on your chin, but because of mirror neurons in the brain, they're so powerful that you did what I did rather than what I said. And so it's really important that right now we model for our kids self-regulation. We can't stop our kids from having a temper tantrum, right? Like you can't control somebody else's behavior, but what you can do is control your own. And you can take a few deep breaths and you can model that self-regulation. So when it comes to mental health, so next week during Mental Health Awareness Week, we're going to have a whole series. We have 7 really great guests that are coming on, some of our favorite mindfulness practitioners and yoga practitioners, our children's authors that will be coming on every day, and they'll be sharing a mindfulness practice that will help to build resiliency and improve mental health for kids. And one of the things that we're doing, we'll be putting a blog post out this week about it, is we're going to be sharing our mental health, or our, what we call our resiliency toolkit. And what we share in that toolkit is some of the basic practices that we can all do easily every day, meaning it doesn't take a lot of time to do. And it can make, it's what I call it's those big little things. It's little things we can do every day that can make a big difference in our lives. So just to give you an example of some of them. So practicing daily gratitude, right? And it doesn't mean, and for some people, this is hard. When I say little things, I don't mean it's always easy, right? So sometimes you have a day where it's like, okay, what am I grateful for? It's hard, you know, to find something depending on how the day went. But practicing daily gratitude can really help us to start to scan our world and train our brain to look for the positive things rather than scanning the world for negative things to complain about.
Absolutely. No,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to give other examples, but I think gratitude was the first thing that I thought of after I recovered from the coronavirus. And to me, at that moment, it wasn't about the big things, you know, because I certainly wasn't working this, you know, cushy job, or I wasn't, you know, my book release got postponed. So things, those big things that, you know, I always did were delayed. But small things, I mean, I was so grateful that I could breathe. I was so grateful that, you know, I can look at my phone without feeling dizzy. So I 100% support that. And it's something that I started to do more after I recovered. So gratitude, what other, you know, quick tips you can share?
Definitely practicing mindfulness. And that doesn't mean you have to sit and meditate for an hour. There's lots of great breathing techniques that we do with children. We do finger breathing with them. We do rainbow breathing. So in the morning, we have a Facebook group called Happy Resilient Kids. And every morning at 8:15, my daughter and I, and my business partner, Annabel from iGrowCo, and her 8-year-old son, and sometimes her 4-year-old daughter, we go on and we do a 15-minute live session. And we practice the gratitude, the mindfulness, so we teach the breathing, and we use affirmations. So daily positive affirmations are a huge tool that we can use, because what they do is they kind of program the brain, right? So that you can develop positive belief systems. And that's a really important piece right now, because when we look at belief systems, all the children home, right now, we develop our belief systems based on our experiences. So all children are developing their belief systems right now. And some of them will develop belief systems based on their experience. If for example, their parents are super stressed, the news is always on, right? And there's a lot of worry, they might develop a belief system, the world is scary, right? I always have to worry about money. Like, they start to take these belief systems on. If, for example, they're in a home where, you know, there's calmness and there's fun and there's play, you know, and there's connection, and they're creating art and they're doing things, they might develop the belief system that challenges our opportunities to create and to innovate, right? And for growth. So it's important that what our children are experiencing right now, that we understand they're developing those belief systems. And one way to cultivate belief systems is through positive affirmations.
That's actually an excellent point to pivot to the next question. I want you to talk about iGrowCo. I am so obsessed with these cards myself. And, you know, I can't wait for our viewers to learn more about it and, of course, you know, to use them. Can you tell us about iGrowCo? What are these affirmation cards for kids?
Yeah, so we, about 1.5 years ago, my business partner and I had this idea because when my daughter was born, I would do affirmations with her. I would rock her and I would say, you're safe, you're loved, you're capable, you're connected, over and over, like a broken record. And someone said, well, aren't you brainwashing her? And I said, well, of course I am. Everything that babies and toddlers and children see and hear and smell and taste, everything is programming their brains, right? It's creating those neural pathways for them and hardwiring it. So the more repetition of something, the more it gets hardwired into their brain. So I knew that I wanted her to develop these positive belief systems. So I started programming them into her when she was very young. And I started looking for products that I could use to cultivate that. And I couldn't find any. And so, you know, we decided to create these really for our own kids at first. And then I've always been in wellness and
education,
well-being. And so for me, I thought, my gosh, we have to share this with everyone. You know, we have to get this out there so that, you know, all kids have the opportunity to really cultivate these belief systems. So that's where the idea kind of was born, in a sense. And we launched them this past October. So October 2019, we launched the iGrowCo Sprouts series.
Wow, incredible. Yeah. And I got to know about these cards immediately after, so I feel very lucky. But again, just to sum it up for the viewers who are tuning out now or would see the video later on, this is a deck of card that we're talking about. And yeah, there we go. Deck of cards with positive affirmation for kids. Joy, how many characters there are? How many types of kids?
So my daughter, I realized her cards, some of them are downstairs and missing. So there are 7 characters. And there's 7 really diverse, relatable characters. There's Kai. I'll try to hold them up. There's Kato. There's Fia. Yeah. But
the beauty of these kids is, like you mentioned, I mean, I looked at the cards, it's the diversity of these kids. And we talked about this earlier. It's not about perfecting the child, because, you know, no child is perfect, no parent is perfect. There's no one is perfect. I mean, that's just crazy. But it's the idea of instilling these values, these inherent fundamental values of kindness, resilience, empathy. Can you tell us a little bit about these values that are captured in these cards? Some of the sentences that you can read to us, because I definitely want to make sure that, you know, people understand what these cards are, and, you know, where they can get a hold of them, or how they can use these affirmation, because even the idea of affirmation, Joy, is not understood universally, you know. So please talk about that as well.
Yeah. So one of the ways we explain affirmations to children is we say affirmations are like magic words. When you repeat them, you start to believe them, which makes them come true, right? So it's that repetition. So for example, here's one, we were just talking about gratitude, and this is our character, Asmi. And it says, I am grateful. I'm thankful for everything I have. I can see the beauty in everything. And what we do is we have our formula, which is ABC. It's affirm, breathe, connect. So we teach children, they say the affirmation, so they repeat it.
Right.
They take a breath. They breathe it in. They reflect. What feelings is it bringing up for them? And then they connect it. See is connect. And on the bottom of every card, there's a question. So what are you grateful for? Right? So it allows them, because we want to take their belief systems into action, right? We don't want them to just have the belief. It's really about taking action. So connecting it to their lives is super important. And I've been looking, you know, we've done this we do them every morning with my daughter. She knows every character. It's amazing how she's not even 3. If you hold up a card, if you hold up this card, I'm compassionate, she'll say, I'm compassionate. Not because she can read, but because she knows the image, and we've done it enough that she knows, and she'll say, Quinn is helping Kai is crying, right? And then we read it, I treat myself and others with care. I help anyone who is having a hard time. And then who can you show compassion to, right? So her little brain doesn't know the word compassionate, the vocabulary yet. But what will happen is when she's starts to understand the language, her brain is programmed to believe I'm compassionate. And she will then, it's our beliefs that drive our behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Wow, no, that's so, so important. I really want to make sure that people know how, they can get their hands on these cards. I know it's difficult right now, everyone being in quarantine, but are there ways that people who are watching can learn more about these cards or get a hold of them?
So one thing that's super important is for us is giving back. And it's part of the ethos of our company, and making sure that these cards are accessible to everyone. So first of all, our digital deck, you can download the digital deck completely for free by going on our website. You don't have to pay for it. Just go and you'll get the PDF file of all 49 cards, the instructions, and the character intros. So just know that that's out there. We've also been developing printables. So every day that we do our morning sessions, we have a free printable that goes up on the Facebook group and also up on our website, so that children can then take the activity to the next level and go deeper with it. So all of those printables are on our website. And again, you can print them up and do the activities with kids for free. So that's really, and I would encourage people to join the Facebook group, because when you have, I mean, my friend's, Annabel's 8-year-old son leads us through it. He has grown tremendously throughout this quarantine. I think he's one of the success stories, to watch him develop and grow and really take ownership of doing these sessions at 8 years old is phenomenal. And this is a little boy who, it was hard at first to get him to sit down and do the cards. And now he's like, come on, guys, let's go. Let's all do the affirmations today. So it's really amazing to see that transformation.
What do you say to parents who, back to intimidation, may feel intimidated doing these affirmations, or they may feel that we may not do it right, we are not equipped with it?
Yeah. So first of all, there's no right way to do it. And we give instructions to help guide people, but there's absolutely no one way to do it. Sometimes we'll take a card and we'll look in the mirror and we'll say it to ourselves in the mirror so that we can say it back. Sometimes my daughter will take them and throw them up in the air, and she'll just mess around with them, and then she'll pick one up that kind of resonates and we'll read it together. So, what's amazing is, even though the vocabulary on some of the cards, it's advanced. It's way advanced for my daughter. However, we're finding that so many parents are giving us feedback and saying that, wow, I need these. I need to shift my belief system. So what's amazing is that through doing these with your children, you're actually also reprogramming your own brain. And we know, because of neuroplasticity, that we can change belief systems, but we have to kind of fake it till we make it, right? You have to reprogram your brain.
Wow, no, I think it's so incredible that the entire conversation ties together, whether it be positive discipline, mental health, the emotional challenges we're going through and how we can reverse that, and, these affirmation cards. I want to close on a hopeful note, because, the whole purpose of the program and, my COVID recovery series is to focus on the good that's still out there, focus on the positive and the hopeful elements that we still have and we can hold on to as we go through the pandemic. What do you say to parents who, again, are struggling? Summing up the conversation, what is the hope in this chaos? What is the light that exists in this quarantine that we may not see? What is it? Because I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I do want to leave parents with a message that they need to show themselves compassion, and they need to be kind to themselves. You do not have to do it all, and you do not have to do it perfectly. I want to make sure I say that. Be kind to yourself. You have to, as they say, drink while you pour. You have to nourish yourself in order to be there for your children and your families. So that's one message I want to make sure that I share. And I think one of the greatest things that is coming out of this pandemic is, and I'm going to talk about it on a macro and a micro level. So in the family units, I have seen connections and bonding, and I mean, it's beautiful to see. even with my own friends, you know, who were so busy and didn't have as much time for their families, are now in it and finding that joy again. And I really am hopeful that the family unit, that what we've lost actually over the years by being such busy people, we're going to go back to that, you know, like how I grew up having family dinners every night. And, you know, I hope that that will stick. And I am aware that some families are not in good situations and may not be experiencing that. And you know, so I hope that we can really also keep those families in our minds and make sure to reach out and give them the support that they need. On a global level, I really believe that I really believe everything happens for a reason. And again, there's my eternal optimism, but I do believe that this pandemic and the children going through this now, they are and will develop the skills they need to take us into the future. And you know, we will look back and we will understand why all of this happened and why these children had to grow up with this experience so that they can become those creators and innovators and problem solvers, you know, and have the compassion, right, that we need.
And resilience.
And resilience that we need to really thrive in this world. So although a lot of us feel like we're in survival mode, I really like to think that we will thrive. We will come out of this better.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for leaving us on that very positive note. Joy Marchese, founder of Positive Discipline UK, co-founder of iGrowCo, an educator, but most importantly, a mother. I will share all of the links for our viewers. And thank you so much for sharing all your insight. I know it comes from your heart and really from a genuine place. And I really hope that the parents who are watching benefited from all your insight and expertise, Joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, Tara. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Likewise. See you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.